Hey everyone, welcome to another episode, excuse me, of Coffee with the Critters. This one is long overdue, and we probably should have had this one at the beginning of summer here in the United States, but it is summer or going into some summer in other countries, so it'll hit home somewhere, everywhere, hopefully. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Critters. Everybody, my name is Laura Joseph, owner of the Animal Behavior Center. We are an international educational center where we teach everybody around the world about interacting, living, loving, learning with animals through using positive reinforcement and applied behavior analysis. And we do that through our live streaming services here at the Animal Behavior Center. Hey, everybody. Hi, Shelly. Hi, Heather. Hey, everybody. This is a very important episode. I hope this gets shared far and wide for many different reasons. A couple of things I just want to add real quick as we get started. Today, I have special guest Carol Kessler with 911ParrotAlert. I've met Carol several years ago and haven't seen her in several years until just today, until we did a test. I'm getting ready to bring her into the show, but before I do, we do this live stream every week, usually at 9 a.m. Eastern, right here on the Animal Behavior Center's Facebook page, every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, as long as I'm not traveling, which I seem to be doing quite a bit of lately. And I will adjust the time pending on the guest that I have on live. And every week I try to keep it something different. Sometimes I'm out in the center, and we pick a topic. Some weeks we have Q&A. Some weeks we're talking about enrichment. Some weeks we have behavior spotlights. Some weeks we have interviews. And we have the whole rest of the summer and the fall booked up with our schedule. So sometimes that changes. So if you ever want to know the time of the next Coffee with the Critters, when you're right here on the Animal Behavior Center's page, look to the left. I think the screen is backwards, so look to the left and click on events, and there you will see we usually try to keep the schedule for the month in advance. Next week we were going to have a little flip-flop in our topic. It was going to be enrichment, but Dr. Deb Jones will be coming back with us. She'll be here next weekend, and everybody loves the live streams with Dr. Jones. So that will be at 9 a.m. If for any reason you need to get in touch with me, you can always reach us at our website, theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. It'll show you a lot of what we do. If you ever need to get in touch with me, I personally sit down and answer each and every one of my emails. Sometimes it may take me some time to get to you, but I'll get to you. And you can reach me at Laura, Lara, at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. All right, let's go. Hey, Chris, you're in Utah. I'm going to be in Utah next month. Let's go ahead and bring on our guest, Carol Kessler. Bring her in from the lobby. It's going to take just a couple of seconds. There she is. Hi, Carol. How are you?
Hi, Laura. I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. This is long overdue. I thought about having you on, like I was just telling you in the testing. Most people here at the Animal Behavior Center, well, most people here where we're located in Northwest Ohio, that doesn't really matter because our services are international. A lot of people local to us here in Sylvania and Toledo, Ohio, are not familiar with the Animal Behavior Center because it's not that we don't do business locally, but all of our business is done via our live stream, so we don't focus on locally. And now that people locally are knowing that we're here, I'm starting to get tagged in all these posts of, fortunately or unfortunately, the only ones I'm getting tagged in are the ones that are being found or lost. And before we go into that, I want to, I'm tagging you all over the place. Tell people to contact 911ParrotAlert. Tell them to contact Carol Kessler. And I'm tagging you in all of that. can you give us a little bit of background? Let's start with you and how you got involved with 911 Parrot Alert.
So I got involved because, surprise, surprise, one of my gray parrots got out, and it was a silly mistake on my part. I was walking from my car in the garage to my garage door. It was 3 feet. I did not have her in her carrier. I had taken her out of her carrier, and I just put her in my hand. I clasped her feet like so many people say they do. And I walked around my car and I tripped on the cement. I was 2 feet from my door, and I sort of stumbled and lurched forward, and she was able to get out of my grip because she was startled, and off she went. So I didn't really know much. And
how long ago was this?
This was in 2014. This was May 2014.
Okay.
And she ended up being out for 2 nights. I ultimately found her Mother's Day morning at 7 a.m. She answered my contact call. She was just a couple blocks away. And after that event, it was so profound for me that I wrote up with the help of Ray Varela, who had also helped me search for my gray, Kevin. We wrote up the search and retrieve protocol. And somewhere along the line, we hooked up with 911 Parrot Alert.
So 911 Parrot Alert was already in.
Oh, yes.
Or it existed.
That's right. It had been in existence since about 2003, 2004, started by Donna Powell. And so I just started being very active in that group. And then we started sending out the search and retrieve protocol as a document. And, all the volunteers, Christine Rose, Jamie Lee, Georgette, Tiffany, Nikki, Andrea, and me, we are extremely proactive in sending out a lot of information to people when they lose, find, have their birds stolen. We're very proactive in tracking people down to help them.
Yes, you are, because recently I've been getting tagged in all of these posts about in the Facebook group here locally, Toledo Lost and Found Pets. And what I'm doing is tagging you, and I feel like I'm being a nag because now I'm just like posting Carol, contact 911 Parrot Alert. So that's what started me in thinking about getting you on here to do a live stream.
Yeah, great. Happy to do it.
Yeah, and I want to say your like I was just telling you, your follow-up is phenomenal because the other day there was a yellow-naped Amazon that somebody found here in Northwest Ohio.
Yes.
And less than 24 hours after I posted it, you were already posting before I even woke up that the bird was back home.
Reunited. I think
Yes.
that was home. Yeah.
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 Okay. So obviously you were telling me your number one concern and your number one goal, everybody at 911 Parrot Alert, is to get the bird reunited, obviously.
Right. And make sure whoever is, yes, that's correct. Yeah. No matter found, stolen, lost, all 3 scenarios.
Okay. All right. So you are now an admin and volunteer at 911 Parrot Alert.
Yes.
So you have to be.
We are all volunteers.
Yeah. You have to be very busy. If you're doing,
Yeah.
I mean, is this a service nationwide or internationally?
International.
Wow. So you have to be very busy.
Yeah. I get tagged at midnight, 2 a.m, 4 a.m. People send us all messages 24 hours a day, and we're located in different parts of the U.S. So I'm slower to be on the site in the morning as opposed to somebody on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm up later because I'm on the West Coast. I've helped people in the UK. I've gotten up oh God, like 5 a.m. to help somebody who's trying to get their bird out of a tree. I've set my alarm to kind of be present for somebody who's going to try to retrieve their bird out of a tree, so that I'm available via phone or text or PM. I've done that with people overseas. I'm a classical singer, so I have to be careful of not being awake, past when it's really detrimental vocally for me or professionally. But we try to be available as many hours of the day as possible.
But with all of you, what I've noticed is when I'm tagged in a post of a bird lost, is usually what it is. I tag you and I see that a group of you come in and boom, just start taking over. And this is what you need to do. This is a protocol to follow. This is who you need to contact. Am I incorrect?
Yeah, no, that we try to do that. We kind of swarm. If I'm unavailable, if I'm teaching, or if I'm unavailable at the moment, I'll tag anybody anyway. I'll try to write a comment, and I'll tag Georgette, Christine, Jamie, Nikki, Tiffany, Andrea. I'll tag all of our admins and volunteers on a post, just in the event that I cannot get to that post as soon as I would like, so that somebody is on that post. And it's already probable that post is in the 911 Parrot Alert group, and we're already on that bird, so to speak. Mm-hmm. We try very hard to get the owners of these birds, in whatever capacity this bird is listed, lost, found, stolen, to get that person, or the finder, to get them in the Facebook group, so we can help guide them in proper caretaking while that bird is being searched, the family's being searched for, if it's a found bird, for example. Yeah. And then if it's stolen, we try to guide them with rational, helpful, well thought out, planned guidance on how to proceed.
So, yeah, you have a lot of experience in this, which is why I reached out to you, to bring you in here to help, to help share your expertise. Number one, nobody expects an accident. That's why they call them accidents. A
lot of tragedy.
Yeah. And I know a lot of the training we do here with the multiple species that we have, one of the main forms of training we do here is things to do in case of an accident.
Yes.
So with that, let's talk about some of the different key factors. When a person loses, maybe we should talk about prevention too, but I'm sure that's probably part of it.
Yes.
When a person, I'm jotting this down, loses a bird, I'm going to go through lost, found, stolen, reunite, prevention. When people when they lose a bird, take it from there. What key points can you give them?
So the first thing we do is try to track down an owner. And so if the owner posts, or once we get a hold of the owner, then we send out a series of things for them to do. One of them is we send them the search and retrieve protocol, which goes through a series of steps of how to conduct a search. Concentric circles is a real big thing. We try to get as much detail as we can about what happened, whether this bird was taken out on the shoulder because this bird had trimmed flight feathers, and this bird has never flown away in the 15 years this bird has been in the hands of this person. And, my bird loves me, or I forgot this bird was on my shoulder, or whatever. Flew out the door, spooked, whatever the situation. We try to get as many details as we can so that we can guide accordingly. It's all about starting the search. There is no condemnation done. There's no judging done. It's just getting details so we know how to proceed. Nobody needs to make an owner feel badly when a bird is missing. That is one of the worst. They already feel horrible.
They already feel horrible, and that'll probably punish their behavior of trying to reach out and ask for help.
Yeah. So and anytime somebody starts scolding somebody on a post, we delete the comment, just outright on the post. And if that person, then the person is removed from the group. I mean, we just don't tolerate it. It's unhelpful. So that's the first thing we do. We try to get all the details of what happened. get the location, who's on site, start searching immediately. When this happened, what the environment is like, what the weather is like. Then we
does the immediate surrounding outdoor environment matter? Like, are you in a heavily wooded area? Are you in a wide open field?
Yes. So, are you in an urban, residential, rural, out in the country? Were you at a rest stop? Were you traveling with your bird? Are you home? Are you at a relative's? What's the situation? And then we have a list of supplies for them to just throw in a backpack, some bowls, a lot of water, fruit, hydrating fruit, anything that is the favorite snack, favorite anything, a toy, anything. Throw that in a backpack and then just set out to search. Searching, depending on what the time frame is, companion birds just don't fly off and fly 100 miles. We will get people who say, I read online, these birds can fly hundreds of miles. Okay, well, first of all,
in the wild, maybe.
This is a captive bird, and this bird doesn't have the conditioning, most likely. Even free flight birds, there's a big community of free flyers. Even they don't just fly hundreds of miles. We've had free flying birds go missing, and they're usually found within a few miles. And they are a lot more conditioned than a lot of the birds with trim flight feathers, or even flighted birds who practice, just flying down the hallway or whatever.
Right.
So they're usually found within 3 to 5 miles. They're usually found within a couple days, 2, 3, 4 days. They will usually ask somebody for help via flying to somebody's shoulder, vocalizing in a tree, on a fence, on the ground, whatever, getting somebody's attention. And that's generally 3 to 5 miles. Sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's 7. If there's a lot of wind happening, if there's storms, down in the South, hurricane season, there's more months now that hurricanes are a big threat. So the winds can take a bird a little bit further. So, but active searching on a bike or on foot is something we recommend doing if you can in a 3 to 5 mile radius. After about 4, 5, 6 days, it's going to be more about posting and keeping the word out, getting the word out, and scouring posts and checking in with your local shelters and animal control and pet stores and veterinarians and, all of those things. The active search window is not all that long for a bird to be outside. Just common sense. A bird needs food and water to be able to survive, and they do not have the benefit of a flock to help keep them safe. They're prey.
So they're probably, and I'm asking you, like within the first 24 hours that a bird is outdoors, a companion bird that is lost, I would assume it'd probably be quiet, because
generally they're a little out of sorts, and this is based on just experiences and my own experience. Generally, the first number of hours after a bird goes missing, they tend to be quiet. They're perhaps a little out of sorts, not really sure what's happening. They're disoriented. They kind of have to get their surroundings, figured out. And then they tend to be a little bit more vocal. I know Kevin was not vocal for, the rest of the day. She flew out about 4 o'clock on a Friday, and there were no reports of any sounds for the rest of that day. The following day, she was making cockatiel screams around my block. And it turns out she had landed up in a eucalyptus tree in the backyard, in a little bit some open space behind a house that had an aviary of cockatiels. And I have 3 cockatiels. So she was making cockatiel vocalizations. I probably walked by that house 5 times around my block, and I was not
for her. And
and either I wasn't dialed in to those sounds, or I didn't hear her, she wasn't making them. I'm not sure. But she wasn't making any noise before that, or nobody heard her. So it was about 24 hours later, 25, 6 hours later, that she started making vocalizations when we got those reports. So it's, and some people just don't think twice about what they're hearing. And then
Sure.
it takes somebody asking them, did you happen to hear odd sounds? And they're like, oh yeah, you know what? Actually, I think I did.
Now
And
that
then
you're
it
into it.
starts to jog their
Their
memory.
memories. Yeah, because a lot of people probably that are unfamiliar with companion parrots probably don't even know what to look for, what they probably see a bird. Oh, that's interesting. And then keep on going about their day.
Yes. And there are people who, find gray parrots. For example, we just had another found post come up a few days ago by someone who, I don't know what kind of a bird this is, but this, I think it's probably somebody's pet, and that's a gray. So, and people are asking what kind of bird a budgie is, a little budgie.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not schooled in birds, it's not unreasonable to not know what species. That's right.
Right. So one thing I wanted to talk about, let me recap. So you will usually hear the bird within 24 hours because after it starts getting hungry, is that true? That it's going to tend to be a little more vocal?
The longer a bird is out, a day, 2 days, 3 days, and it's a case-by-case basis. It depends on the individual bird. As you know, every bird is an individual. And most times in our experience, when we get these posts, they will start becoming more vocal after about a day. And that's also from observation.
Sure.
Most people will hear a bird before they'll see a bird. And that's just by virtue of the fact they can be camouflaged in, if they're in a tree and depending on what the coloring is. But you can even, you would be surprised that even a green wing or a scarlet is tricky to see sometimes in a heavily leafed tree.
Sure.
And they're forced up.
Yeah. I think a couple of people from 911ParrotAlert are in here. Nikki Bishop. Is that
Probably.
Correct? Yep.
Yes.
So she just posts, and the parrots make such common noises, they can blend right into public noise.
Yes, that's true too. And if it's a noisy urban residential area, you've got cars going by on the streets. It's very hard to hone in on those sounds.
Yeah. Okay. So after several days of the bird being missing, still keep active, because it's a couple of different things that could happen. I don't know. I'm assuming, I know recently when we thought there was a lost cockatoo here, which we think was a misidentified bird.
Yes.
One of the and that was driving me nuts. I was out searching and it was hot out. But one of the things, I forgot what I was going to say.
Been out for a few days.
I started thinking maybe somebody found this bird and it's in somebody's house.
Yes, and there is a segment of the population who believes in finders keepers. We do not subscribe to that for obvious reasons. And so, after posting flyers is something that we recommend, at least 300 to 500 flyers plastered all around the neighborhood, plastered just everywhere. Not in mailboxes because that's a federal offense. You can tape flyers to mailboxes, but we recommend them being circulated all over the place in a neighborhood. There is a large amount of people who seem to not be on social media, or they don't respond to social media. So flyers are vital. We make flyers for people. We have a link to our flyer form. We generate those out. Me, Georgette, and Christine, although I don't generate nearly what Georgette and Christine make, just because it takes me a little bit longer. I've got more things on my plate. Although we're all very, very busy. But they are all over those flyers. And once flyers are made, we advise plastering them all over the place so that if somebody has found a bird, and if they are upstanding people, they will respond to the flyer. They'll call the number that's listed on the flyer. Sometimes we get people who have intent on keeping a bird or giving this bird away because now this bird needs a home. I can't keep this bird. We try very hard to get a hold of these people and to set up foster situations with either local rescues, with trusted bird stores who are going to, properly care for a bird and house the bird temporarily. We've got, a bird shop locally here. There's a bird shop locally in Sacramento. I tap both of them whenever there's a bird that has been found in these areas. And they have been very generous with their resources in allowing a bird to be housed there until we can find the family. But sometimes people get a little bit belligerent and they try to disappear and keep a bird. And that's, so we try to track them down as best we can.
Yeah. So the number one thing, if somebody loses a bird, or if you see something that looks like a parrot flying around, number one thing is to get in touch with 911 Parrot Alert. You guys know what to do. You guys can be, I know now that I know a lot more about you, God forbid anything happened here, boom, you would be my first phone call. Or my first contact. Something else that I've noticed with me just being more aware of this now is the amount of people that I see saying, "Oh, I'll take the bird." And I'm just like, wait. Over eager to take in a bird if it can't find its home.
Yes. And we are not a shopping center for free birds. So, and we're pretty quick to hone in on people making comments in a manner that is suggestive of that attitude or state of mind. If there is a finder who is open to our help and assistance, we try to get them on the Facebook post so that we can help guide them. Otherwise, we do it kind of backdoor. We send them text messages. We're in contact with, via phone. And we have a whole protocol on found assistance as well. So we make sure first, are they bird savvy? Do they know how to care for a bird? Do they have a proper enclosure, enrichment, nutrition? Is this bird injured? Can you get this bird to a vet for an exam just to make sure there's no little puncture wounds or anything that could lead into a secondary bacterial infection? We have
predators in the house.
Predators in the house, dogs, cats. People think, oh, my dog is going to be fine. Well, dogs and cats instinctually also can just stare a bird down, and that can be very stressful to a bird. It's stalking. Nobody likes to be stalked. Mm-hmm. And it can be very unnerving, and that can lead to other behavioral problems then for a bird, feather destruction behavior, and just, paranoia. It's unhealthy. So we try to make sure when we have a finder who is open to our help, to set them up as best we can, giving them a lot of information. And it's a lot of information. And
do you find that, because that's the next section I was going to go into, what to do if you find a bird, what to do if you know birds and you find a bird, but especially a lot of what I see is what to do when you find a bird when you have no bird experience.
Yeah. So the first thing would be to, if somebody has alerted you to 911 Parrot Alert, to let us know, because we can help you. The next thing is speaking to somebody who's unaware of 911 Parrot Alert, if they're not here, that really doesn't help. However, if somebody is aware of somebody who has found a bird,
share this.
Yes, get it out in the public domain. And chances are somebody connected with 911 Parrot Alert, or somebody who is connected with someone who has a bird and knows about bird care, can offer to foster that bird. But that's a key difference, fostering versus taking.
Yes.
Fostering, and words matter. Fostering connotates, this bird is going to be set up temporarily while other means are implemented to find a bird's family or whatever. But proper nutrition, veterinary care, avian veterinary care, if that's at all possible, those things are really, really important. Proper enclosure, just good husbandry in the meantime.
One of the recent calls, and I was on the phone with somebody that had found a bird that was a ways from me. I already contacted 911 Parrot Alert. I highly suggested they did. And where do I want to go with this? I'll stick to my point. Where they were just like, well, I can't keep taking care of this bird. And I was like, where is it? And she was like, it's in my bathtub. And I said, well, let's keep moving forward. Have you contacted 911 Parrot Alert? They said yes. And she's like, well, I can't keep caring for this bird. I have my neighbor who's very eager to take it. And I was just like, but are you still looking for the owners? And I have a feeling they weren't.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. I've run into that. All of us have run into that situation more than once, which is really depressing.
Yeah. And I was just like, are you aware of the cost of veterinary care for a bird? Think about this if you want to be so eager taking in this bird.
Yeah, well, it's care, and then, the heartstrings. This bird is likely bonded to maybe other flock mates. The family is probably just reeling from not knowing where their family member is presently. And then the flock mates at home are grieving for the loss of this bird who's out. So, there's all kinds of things that people just don't realize.
Take into consideration. I know, God forbid, one of ours got lost. I don't know what I would do with myself. You know what I mean? That would be my mission.
Yeah. Well, I had a concert to attend with my dad that night, and he was en route to my house, didn't have a cell phone. He showed up, and I'm like, I can't leave. I can't go. We were going into the city, San Francisco. I had to cancel. So I couldn't do, I had to cancel everything. I canceled everything. So, and we get people who have to go to work, or they just are mad at their bird, and my bird's just going to have to fly back. They're just going to have to find their way back. And we're mortified to hear these stories.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it feels like we care more about this bird's welfare than the owner does.
Right.
And I know people have responsibilities and all those things. However, it's an emergency, and you only have a small window of opportunity. So.
Yeah. And for, I've even received phone calls for people who have threatened that if I don't take their bird, they're going to let it loose. And I respond to them by saying that is one of the worst things you could do, besides it being illegal. But, you let that bird go, predatory birds are going to quickly pick up on what isn't very savvy, what may not be a very savvy flyer.
That's right. And you have to hope that someone has a moral compass and an ethical compass for that to be bothersome to them, and so they'll do the right thing. Sometimes people are not that way. And I really have no response to that. It's just not in my realm of consciousness to not care. So
right.
Hard to respond to situations.
Well, can we talk about another area which I haven't even thought of because I don't know, which is because you are about lost, found, reuniting, and stolen birds. Can you talk a little bit about stolen birds?
Yes. So there's a gal, Kristen. She now is in my back pocket. She is somebody I call anytime we have a stolen bird, or somebody who has found a bird and is not giving this bird back, even though we have the owners located. So she's a gal she's in the group. Her gray parrot was stolen. She immediately posted. Either she posted or we picked up on the post. I don't remember which. I'd have to look at it. But she was very, very proactive in tracking down where her gray was, and she busted her bird out of there, essentially. So she posted a very large reward. We recommend doing that. It gets people's attention. A lot of times it's about the money. So if there's a theft, time is of the essence, just like any other lost case. Although theft.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah.
People are wanting to, you said it's all about the money in like holding the bird for ransom, or just saying this bird is worth a lot of money, we can sell it somewhere and get a lot of money?
Both. It seems both. Probably to sell. This gray was in a very tiny budgie cage, being held with a blanket over him, and it appeared that he was being ready for transport to be sold somewhere. I mean, she found him in the nick of time, and so we advise, with regard to reward, that it be equal or more to whatever somebody would acquire a bird for in a pet store, or from a breeder. So, for example, for hyacinth macaws, they can go for 10 grand or so. So we advise posting a reward for 10,000 or more for that bird. For a gray, $5,000 will get somebody's attention. And in her instance, very soon after she posted that reward, she got a phone call saying that somebody claiming, with a block number, claiming to know where her bird might be. Very soon after, we just recently had a story with a stolen hyacinth. Very soon after a $10,000 reward was posted, there was a phone call received. So money seems to be a big motivating force. It doesn't always result in having a bird reunited. However, it's probably going to increase the chances of getting a valid contact from somebody who knows something. I mean, somebody knows something, and people love to tell secrets. So, and there's also a segment of the population who like to be a hero. So, if somebody tips somebody off, they provide, but they want to stay anonymous, that's fine. Sometimes there can be rewards posted for any information leading to the safe reuniting of my bird. I'll give you such, $3,000 for any information that leads to him being reunited. So rewards, and even a lost bird, we recommend rewards. And depending on what the region of the country is, the world, wherever this bird is lost or stolen from, rewards can help. It also can attract prank calls. And those are heartbreaking.
Yeah. In a time where you're absolutely devastated.
Yes.
Yeah. And let's see, I know Nancy Forrester down in Key West. Happy birthday, Nancy. Says that her parrots are microchipped when they come here. Is that something you recommend? Yes.
And, some people don't like to microchip their birds. We do recommend that. That is the only way in a court of law presently, is my understanding, that a bird can be proven to be owned by whomever.
Okay.
Bands, a lot of birds are banded. Bands can be put on as an adult bird. They can be snipped off. So, and people can get a hold of band numbers. We don't recommend posting band numbers. If people have those posted, we advise people to take the band numbers down from their post. Do not share that. That's private information. If somebody else gets a hold of that band number, they can go to a finder and say, hey, this is the band number of my bird.
This is my bird.
Right. And if the finder is not all that savvy and doesn't know to look for behavior, recognizable behavior, any physical characteristics that may be individualistic to that particular bird, that bird gets, quote unquote, reunited with the wrong person.
Somebody just came on here, DJ Powell, says, can now do DNA.
Yes, and DJ Powell, she's the owner of 911ParrotAlert. She is the one who started this group back in 2003-04. She'll probably correct me. a lot of credit goes to her. She has funded the website all on her own. She has donated lots of money over the last several years to keep this website running. She has helped many birds with Katrina, with the hurricane. Opened her house, it became a rescue. She helped over 300 birds. I mean,
wow,
really a lot goes to her.
I must get to know this woman.
Yes. So DNA is also an advisable thing. You can recognize a bird by DNA. I don't know that much about that angle on it. However, microchipping is something we advocate once birds are reunited. Depending on the species, of course. I mean, obviously, little finches or canaries or little budgies, it's. I don't think there's a microchip small enough presently for those smaller birds, but certainly anything like a kike or larger, we recommend microchipping. And then registering the microchip, that's a 2-step process.
Say that last part again.
Registering the microchip.
Okay,
So
you have to
get the chip, and then you have to register the chip.
It's not much use.
Some people forget to register the chip.
So Nikki says DNA can be done yourself and it's inexpensive as well. Is that correct?
I cannot speak to that because I have not done it myself. DNA, so, there are these kits that you can get and you can snip a nail. I'm not really a fan of that, snipping a nail too short of the quick to make it bleed. It's painful. If somebody doesn't really know what they're doing, now you have a bleeding nail. I know it can be done, and I know a lot of people do that. I have had my birds DNA'd by my board-certified avian veterinarian at a medical center for birds. They have DNA'd my gray parrots so that I know what the gender is. As far as identification, that I cannot speak to. I'm sure it's probably possible, although I don't know how many people would do that.
Yeah.
Realistically in the group, or any bird owner.
Okay, a couple of people, both Nancy down, Nancy in Key West, and who was it? Eva, both had made statements about the facial feather patches being a fingerprint. Would that hold up in the court?
Yeah, so like macaws, for example, they have patterns on their faces which are individualistic to those birds. And that can also help identify a specific macaw, like a blue and gold, for example. And feathering, depending on what the species is, that can help identify a bird. Like I said before, there are individual characteristics, physical characteristics that you can look for by providing pictures, videos for positive identification for a lost found stolen bird.
Gotcha. Okay. DG also says DNA needs I'm assuming this is feather comparison of the lost and found bird.
Yes. Okay. So you'd have to have an existing feather of that bird to perform a DNA comparison.
Well, we got plenty of those.
Probably.
So if I were to say, Rico, do a somersault on cue in a court of law, that's not going to stand up.
Well, it could help. I guess it would depend on the judge. I would think there would be so many behaviors that you personally could demonstrate if you were trying to prove ownership for your bird. But, when a bird recognizes their owner, a lot of times it's so obvious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So if there's a bond.
Yeah.
If a bird out in an aviary, that could be dicey. But then you can have flock mates who would recognize a bird, and that could be helpful.
Yeah. That is great information. That's something like if I took Rocky in, Rico is definitely going to respond to Rocky. And if you told him this is what's getting ready to happen, and then it does.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Nikki also says defects can also help, taking pictures.
So having a video, having a series of pictures documented somewhere in your files for identification, just so you have it. Not necessarily for any particular reason, but just so you have pictures. We have a found budgie that's being fostered right now by me. And there's been someone who has claimed ownership for this bird, although they don't have any pictures. They have nothing. There are 2 flock mates allegedly for this little budgie. So, the next step will be probably having those 2 birds come down along with the owner and just seeing what sort of recognizable behaviors will happen. So, documenting.
Yep. Good. Those are all great things that I probably wouldn't have thought of. Not that my birds aren't plastered all over Facebook anyways.
Right.
It's the only, you want to see a picture of my husband? Hang on. Whoops.
Yeah.
Just be on the last phone. One thing. Okay. Let's talk about prevention.
Yes. And then also we need to talk about retrieval.
Okay.
That's
yep. Should we go into retrieval now before prevention?
We could, because then prevention
that
we talk about after a bird's been safely retrieved.
Okay.
Yeah. So when a bird is located, either by the owner or by somebody who knows the owner or by a stranger, there are a series of things that one can do to coax a bird down. And there are things that we do not advise doing. I would rather focus on what we do advise. So depending on where a bird's located, frequently they're up in a tree, and frequently they're like 40, 50, 60, 70 feet up in a tree. So depending on how many days this bird has been out, usually it'll be after 1 night. Sometimes it's after 2 nights of being out. Sometimes it's the same day somebody's located their bird. So we prepare an owner that this could take 1 night, this could take 2 nights, this could take 3 nights. Just be patient. So patience is key to have. And this is at a time when there's a lot of stress going on and urgency and impatience. So we try to calm people down. That's the first thing. And then we set to the business of coaxing. So there are some retrieval scenarios that we send out to people or post on a thread for people to start cycling through in no particular order. What doesn't work on day 1 might work on day 2. What doesn't work on day 2 will probably work on day 3. So, and then if this bird has been out for 3 nights, 4 nights, now we're really getting in a territory where we're going to have to become more aggressive, which we don't like to do in the first few days, because a bird has a lot more energy and there's a lot higher success rate that this bird can come down on his or her own power, which we really would prefer doing. So it's all about cooperative efforts between a human and a bird. So coaxing a bird down by standing next to a tree that offers a slightly lower descent, that has a clear glide path, and then just going from tree to tree to tree to tree. So once a bird has gotten to a tree on the left, then find another tree that has a slightly lower descent from where that bird just landed, and see if you can coax them down. So it's step by step, it's incremental. There also is some climbing that can happen. So then you want to stand directly underneath.
Can I say something real quick before you go any further?
Yes.
This is what you're doing is slowly shaping that bird coming down lower and lower from tree to tree, right?
Yes.
Because just in my experience, especially with companion parrots that aren't used to doing a lot of flying, one of the hardest things for a bird to do is fly straight down.
That's right.
That's where a lot of people stand, is right underneath the tree.
Yes. So descending and landing are learned skills, which I know you know this. So anytime you can coax a bird to a slightly lower descent, or if you can get yourself higher so that it reduces their vertical descent, that's highly advised, because it puts less stress, it requires less skill of a bird. So if you can get on the roof of a house so that maybe it reduces the descent to 5 vertical feet, but you're 20 feet away from the tree, that's a pretty good scenario to see if you can get your bird to fly to you. And that bird might make an attempt, circle around 3 times, land in the same spot, or land higher, or land in a different place, or maybe land a little lower, or totally abort the landing and fly off and land in a different part of the neighborhood. Every time a bird flies, that bird gets a little more skilled. And a little bit more skillful that bird becomes only increases the chances that next flight could be the successful flight to be reunited. Also, with every flight comes a landing. So even the landings increase, and that bird becomes more skilled at landing. So they're not wasted flights. They're still valuable. So it's a series of just cycling through these scenarios. If you can get yourself higher, sometimes if you want to bring a ladder out, we advise dragging the ladder on the ground so that it's not threatening. And then if you're going to prop it up to a tree that is away from the tree that this bird is in, and see if you can get yourself higher in a neighboring tree. Again, with the same idea, you're getting a little bit higher to reduce the vertical ascent for that bird. And again, it depends on the individual species. Anytime you introduce something into the environment, that runs the risk of spooking that bird off.
Sure.
So we will get
Keep
people.
Your birds used to change. It'll help in the long run.
Yes. So if this bird has been out on day one and somebody's saying, "Oh my God, I need to get a bucket truck in here," we really try to avoid those situations, because bucket trucks are big, scary things that are going to come eat that bird alive, and that bird is going to bail.
Do you want me to post a photo of a bucket truck, or is that a different story? Hold on.
No, you can put that up. So this case was a bird on the East Coast. This was a gray parrot. Actually, put that, if you have that picture of Streak.
Oh, the bird?
Streak. Yes. So this is a gray parrot that was spooked off somebody's hand. And as you can see, this bird has no feathers on her belly. However, she was able to, or I forget if this is a male or female bird, able to fly up in, and this was in the winter time, fly up into this tree, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 feet, 40, 50 feet up. And there were no leaves. And it was in the 20s at night. The temperature plummeted to 20 degrees for 2 nights. We had this bird located. Again, I'm on the West Coast. This bird was on the East Coast. I was on the phone. Jamie was on the phone with these owners. Jamie was trying to keep them calm. You know, we would play tag team depending on what the time was, who was working when. That bird ended up staying out for 2 nights in sub-freezing temperatures. On the morning of the third morning, there were some hawks that started circling around this bird. One of them landed within, I don't know, like 2 feet on the same branch as this bird. Streak let out a blood-curdling scream. The owner ran out and got her shotgun.
Oh, geez.
And blasted her shotgun in the air to scare off the hawk. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, it worked. It scared the hawk, and Streak stayed put.
Wow, I'm surprised.
Yeah. So, and I didn't know about that until about an hour later. I had set my alarm for about 5 o'clock in the morning, this third morning, and I had learned that this had just happened. So I conferred with Jamie. We decided this bird seems very stable. She has not left this spot. It's been in the 20s now for 2 days. This bird is not fully feathered. This would be a good candidate to bring in a bucket truck. So this is an individual case-by-case basis. So Jamie has connections with people with bucket trucks. So she was able to find and track down this guy who would send a bucket truck out. They got one out there. You can see Streak up in that tree to the right, that little blob, about 1/3 from the right. There's that sort of that tree. And she's about, here she's about 2/3 up into that tree, according to the picture. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no leaves. She was a sitting duck. So we called in the bucket truck. We took up donations on the post. I had a running total of I put up my PayPal. We had to raise money to get a bucket truck out there because the people didn't have enough funds that they could just hire a bucket truck. So we took up donations. This is all documented in the 911 ParrotAlert group. I started keeping track I mean, we went ahead and just had this bucket truck come out. This guy came out anyway. And then we said we'd get the money together. We'd pay for it. So we watched the behavior of this bird by the second. We were ready to abort and stop if this bird got a little bit nervous, and we watched the behavior, pacing, flapping wings, anything. None of that happened. The owner went up in the bucket truck, and they were able, this bird stepped onto the owner's hand, and we got that bird down. And that was with the help of donations from people in the 911 ParrotAlert group. I think we raised, I don't know, $200 or $300. Jamie was able to get the price down. She negotiated with this guy. And then that bird went straight to the avian veterinarian that we urged the owner to get this bird to. And
Lucky.
She's okay. That turned out okay. Thank God.
Yeah.
Other times, people send in bucket trucks after 2 nights. We wouldn't normally do this after 2 nights, but because the situation was so dire, the temperatures were very, very cold. This bird was not fully feathered, losing a lot of body heat. This bird had now been threatened by a hawk within a couple feet. And because this bird was not budging after a hawk attack and a shotgun blast, we figured this bird would probably stay if a bucket came toward this bird. So that's why we went ahead and followed through with it.
So a lot of what you're talking about ties in with a lot of things that I recommend people do here as far as training with all their animals, not just birds. But one of the things I always say is keep your birds used to change. Keep your animals used to change. Because the more they're used to change, the more they won't get overstimulated, fearful, and take off with just the slightest changes in the environment once it's outside. I hope I never find out, but I feel very confident that if Rico were to fly away from me, we do a lot of the straight down recall. We do a lot of introduction to change. I do a lot of recall during distraction, yes. Heavy distractions.
And recall, just recall training. Yeah. That's just so valuable. We really recommend people try to keep the birds flighted, take them to a batting cage, practice recall training in a batting cage. I go to a local school that's about a half an hour from my house, and, the doors are unlocked, or I get permission from whoever is there on the field, and we practice flying my grays, from one person to another. And, it's great enrichment. It's good enrichment for them. It's, sunshine and conditioning cognitively, behaviorally, physically, physiologically, emotionally. There are just so many benefits to a bird being flighted.
Sure. And yeah, absolutely.
But all that you do, Laura, and mixing things up and introducing all these different things, that's really, really great. It's really important.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Did I interrupt you? Is there more you wanted to talk about? I mean, there's a couple more things we need to talk about. I know this is going to go over an hour. Are you okay with this for like 10 minutes?
Yeah, fine. Yeah. Okay. Well, with coaxing, there's other things that we send out, like this was successful with bringing a gray down from a tree. He was up in a tree for a couple days in New York, pouring water from one bowl to another, so that bird can see this water going from one bowl to another, can hear the water, having another bowl, shaking pellets, shaking whatever favorite treats, having favorite bonded people out there, bonded birds and safe carriers that can help coax a bird down. And then just cycling through these retrieval scenarios that we send out, getting neighboring trees, incremental flights, climbing, just getting a little bit higher, yourself higher to reduce that vertical descent. If you can climb the tree and careful not to mess with the branches so that, a moving branch is going to spook a bird, all of those things,
Sure.
just cycle through them one after the other.
Good. Okay. You ready to talk about prevention?
Yes. And one other thing, people also recommend, we've had people who say, spray your bird with water because if that bird gets wet, that bird can't fly. Okay, well, there's a couple things about that. One, it's going to break trust. That bird does not need to be assaulted with a hose. That bird needs to be retrieved safely, not assaulted. So it really is unhelpful. And if a bird starts to feel a little droplets of water, chances are that bird is going to fly off. And now you have to go find this bird again. The other thing about a bird getting wet is, depending on how long a bird has been out already, they're going to have to spend additional energy regulating their body temperature. So if it's kind of cold outside, or if the temperature goes down and that bird's out for another night, now there's the added stress of having to regulate body temperature. And that can have disastrous consequences. So we don't recommend that we don't recommend that.
What they're saying, and to take a bird outdoors unprotected, spray them down.
People will say if you have your bird in a tree, get a hose and spray your bird so that they won't fly off, because no bird can fly wet. Well, that's not exactly true. I mean, if you're close enough that you can soak a bird, you're probably close enough that you can just retrieve your bird without having to do that.
Right.
And it's unhelpful for the bird because you haven't thought it through. And if that bird is going to be out for any length of time thereafter, and there's no guarantee, that bird now has the added stress of having to regulate body temperature.
Gotcha.
So,
good point.
Not helpful.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about prevention.
Prevention. So be careful of open doors and windows. If you have people in the house who are unaware of birds, are not used to being around birds, even if they are used to being around birds, make sure all birds are accounted for. We've had workmen come into houses where they left a screen door open. The bird is out. Now the bird just flew out the screen door because the screen door was open. We've had people accuse workmen of taking their birds. The workman was in here. My bird was out, or my bird was in their enclosure. I just came back in the house after being outside for half an hour. The workman was inside. Now the workman's not here. Either is my bird. Where's my bird? Taking birds outside with trimmed flight feathers is no guarantee a bird is going to stay on your shoulder. Parrots are prey. They have fight or flight response. You cannot control the environment. You cannot control any predators that may be lurking around that you don't see. Whether that be cats, dogs, hawks, eagles, crows, ravens, anything, blue jays, any wild bird, if they buzz your head, that's enough to spook a bird, and they'll take off. It's in their DNA to do that. So whether a bird's flighted or not, if you're going to have your bird outside, please always have them in a carrier, safe carrier, unless this bird is trained, highly trained, skilled, free-flying bird. And even those birds can get diverted and fly off, and then you have to go find them. We have a heartbreaking situation right now where we're still looking for a free flight bird. That bird flew off, and we're still searching for her. So
can I add on a couple more things before you move off a topic? If you're in a house and you have people in the house that are not paying attention to doors opening and shutting, number one, leave the bird in the cage.
yes.
Something I used to do because I liked my birds out and flying around a lot. And I was always cautious of, even if I said, birds are out flying, do not open a door. What I would do is I attached things to the door that made it harder to open in case that person forgot that there was a bird. So when I hear click, click, Click. I know I've only got 2 more clicks before I yell, don't open that door.
Yes. Or having a screen door, or something.
Or a double door system, or I know even like chains or beads hanging in front of a door.
Yes.
Is that a positive punisher? Sure it is. But the result of not having it is worse.
Yes.
So that bird will fly into the beads and get stuck, or not like it. Birds don't like their wings touched when they're in flight. Turn around, fly away.
Yes. Yeah, and hopefully they won't fly. I mean, it depends how much momentum, I guess, they have when they're going through those beads, but hopefully that would prevent them from going through that. I also want to say, something about the free flying community. When there's been a bird lost, there has been tremendous help and support by people who free fly their birds, and they also have a knowledge that a lot of other non-free flying birds, they don't have the knowledge. So people who own free flying birds and who free fly their birds regularly, they have a keen sense of flight patterns, of behavioral tendencies, what's around in an area, what to look for, search patterns, all of those things. They've been a real help and a real asset to the 911 Parrot Alert Facebook group and site. And I've tagged, they when they're in the area of a lost bird, they have stepped up and really helped, and also helped on other free flying birds who have gone missing, who flew off and have been lost for a day or two or something. So I just wanted to mention that as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's also a subject of follow-up. So when a bird is reunited, it doesn't matter how long that bird's been out, whether it's been 5 hours or 3 days. If that bird's been out of sight, we always recommend an avian veterinary exam to make sure there's no scratches, puncture wounds, or anything like that could lead to a secondary infection. We also recommend, if a bird's been out for overnight or a little bit longer and it's been hot or cold or whatever, an avian exam is in order anyway, and possible subcutaneous fluids if a bird needs to be hydrated. We have a protocol for hydrating a bird. Watery fruits like berries, melon, kiwi, anything that has a high water content to help in hydration. If it's a baby bird, there is a separate protocol for that, for hydration. You want to give little bits of water, little bits of formula, little bits of water, little bits of formula, because formula can be dehydrating to a bird. And again, avian exam. We always recommend avian exam, really, no matter what. Some people follow our guidance. Some people say, oh, my bird is fine. I don't need to take this bird to an exam, or I can't afford it. Well, we've had cases where a few days later, week later, the bird is now not feeling well, droopy, sick, and within a day or so, that bird is no longer of the world. That bird has passed away. Those are documented in the group. So sometimes there probably couldn't have been any help given to that bird, depending on how long that bird had been out, if it were a found bird. If it's a bird that an owner has been reunited with, so that we know exactly how long that bird had been out, we try very, very hard to encourage that person to get that bird to the vet for an exam. Blood work is not recommended right away unless there is, some serious unless there's visible injury, because a lot of times the cells, the blood panel will be off. White blood cells, the count will be higher. So that can skew, from all the stress, that can skew the results, the reading of the blood exam, the blood work. So there is the notion to maybe wait a week or two if you wanted to get a blood draw done, to wait a week or two until the system has had time to kind of settle back down, and then microchipping. Mm-hmm. And then if a bird doesn't have that great of a diet, we follow up with nutritional information. We get them into various groups, nutritional groups on Facebook, if they're on Facebook. If not, we'll send them to our resource page website, which has very sound nutritional guidance for birds to get them on a nutritionally balanced diet, lots of fruit, lots of vegetables, a few grains, a few legumes, nutritionally balanced pellets, just so that they have good information. And then we hope they will take that and run with it.
Good. Yes. You guys have a very great resource, fabulous resource. Yeah. Can I add one more thing just from watching? And this was I know this is really jumping back, but I think it's important enough that I would really be upset if I didn't say it. This was back to when retrieving a bird.
Yes.
I'm not sure how many are familiar with the Animal Behavior Center. It's a 10,000 square foot center. It's all grass, it's trees, it's high rafters. Rocky, our Moluccan cockatoo, beautiful flyer, doesn't know how to land. Okay, which I think may be very common could be common with a lot of people in the companion parrot community, where maybe they're clipping birds and they don't think their bird can fly, and then until you see it fly off. But one thing I've noticed with Rocky, so we ended up, without going into the behavior modification, how we backed up, we taught him how to land. But when I was watching his initial flights before we interacted, he would land. So we have all these rafters and these bigger trees out there, places for the bird to land.
Yes.
He picked the biggest thing to land. He was not comfortable landing on branches, so he would choose to land on the widest object. And I'm just saying that because you said get up on top of a house. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Over time with Rocky, and the more he flew, the more he would choose to land on a banister. Then he started landing on things that were smaller and smaller. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, absolutely. And depending on where a bird happens to be, if there is a wide open space, one of the things we advise is standing back 20, 30, 40 feet to give a long glide path, like an airplane coming in for a landing, rather than a helicopter. So if a bird is able to make, if a bird flies off of a tree and you can stand back, a lot of feet, number of yards back from the tree, 20 yards, 30 yards, 20 feet, 30 feet, depending on the situation. Sometimes they'll circle around, get lower, and land on the ground. That's happened as well. Or they'll run out of gas and descend to the ground. That's happened as well. They've landed on cars. They've landed on rooftops. It's sort of a flat surface, or it's a little bit graded. So anything that you can use in the environment that's already there, try. Especially if it involves getting yourself a little bit higher. People have stood on the roof of their cars to reach up to see if they could get their bird to hop down to them, or climb down to them, fly to them, do a little flight, or just fly to the car. So whatever large target landing spot is available, that could be beneficial. Again, it's so individualistic. It depends on the skill level of the bird, how long the bird's, what the weather is like. We had a cockatiel up in a tree and it was so windy. This bird was just hanging onto this branch. That bird's probably not going to budge until the wind subsides a little bit, thunderstorms rolling in. I mean, we try to guide on a case-by-case basis with a general list of things to do. And then depending on what the exact situation is, we may
individualize it.
Yeah, we may veer off a little bit, just depending on what's there. If their bird is used to these foreign things, if their bird is used to stepping up on a perch, if you put a stick up to a bird, a lot of times they'll fly off. But if a bird is used to stepping up on a stick, then try it. I mean, if you can get a long pole, I tried that with Kevin before I knew anything. I was advised not to do it. Did I listen? I didn't listen. I didn't know anything, but I was hoping it would get her to fly in my direction. She was facing me. I was up on a slanted hill, and she did. She ended up flying exactly where I wanted her to fly, but she was too high. And I watched her fly off into the distance.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, as dusk was approaching, and it was. Yeah. So, but if a bird is used to doing that, then that's certainly worth trying, because that behavior is already learned inside the house. Now, I know I have learned that even though you practice a particular behavior inside the house, once you take that same action in another part of the house, outside in a different spot, it's a whole new behavior.
Sure.
So, but because it's already sort of familiar, that bird just might step up onto that stick or that pole if that bird's used to doing that already somewhere else.
Which is the importance in training during distraction. Once your bird gets used to stepping up on this pole in the living room, take it into the bathroom, see if it'll step up onto it, take it into the bedroom, keep it used to changing environments.
Yes.
Okay. There's anything else you want to talk about? Because I want to bring up something real quick that I think is probably, I don't know, this is something that I think is important that I've picked up on through this live stream.
Yes.
I know you had said people donate to help retrieve with the bucket truck. If people want to donate something to 911 Parrot Alert, where can they go? What can they do? What do we look for?
Yes. So on the website, on the 911 Parrot Alert, and I'm seeing this comment by Nikki, which I also want to mention. On the 911 Parrot Alert website, on the upper right-hand corner, it says donate today. There is a link there. If you click on that link, it takes you to a PayPal account for 911 Parrot Alert. The money that is received through that PayPal account helps to keep the website going, keep the data storage going, because every single entry that's made to that 911 Parrot Alert website, 911ParrotAlert.com, it never disappears. It is archived. It is there. It does not get deleted. And those data, the amount of data increases obviously by each registered, each entry that's registered. It helps to fund the SSL certificate. It helps to fund the website. The domain name has to be paid for. Just general upkeep and maintenance of the website. Those have been all out-of-pocket expenses by Donna, actually.
And it might make a good gift for someone that unfortunately lost a bird and it was never found. Something people are always looking to give gifts. For that person, knowing that a donation was made to 911 Parrot Alert in the help of helping other people find their birds, that might be a good gift. Yes,
that's right. And it also all the money that is collected, we have paid for when there's certain situations of really dire emergencies. We have taken up a collection by volunteers in the group on various posts for immediate vet care. If somebody, if a bird was found and a leg was torn off, or just really dire situations. There have been instances of help in that regard as well. So, we're all volunteers. Nobody's getting paid to do any of this work. It's all of our collective efforts, and it takes so many people to make these reunites successful. There's so many people involved. No one person is responsible for anything. I mean, there's so many steps along the way to getting a bird home. Somebody has to post, somebody has to see that post, somebody has to know somebody who knows how to respond to that post. Flyers, we make flyers for people. We tag people for help, all of these things. We help search for birds. What Nikki had posted a minute ago is...
Yep, I'll go get it.
Retrieval at night. So we recommend search during all daylight hours. Once darkness has hit, you want to cease. pause, and resume in the morning. People want to continue checking on their birds. They know where their birds are in the tree. They want to keep going out 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, making sure that bird's still there, shining a light on that bird with a flashlight. Please don't do that. This bird is prey. This bird needs to roost. This bird needs to not draw attention to him or herself at night. There are other things that come out at night who capitalize on other souls who might be out at night. So that bird is quiet and roost. And then resume at daylight at sunrise.
And being a raptor trainer as well, I know how a lot of these raptors hunt. Parrots don't see very well at night. The last thing, and I know I train a lot of owls, and they hunt at dusk and at dawn. I mean, they'll hunt throughout the night too, but those are two very active times when I see owls most. If I have a lost parrot out there, my lip is sealed because I want that bird staying still and not moving as much as possible because I know what comes out at night.
Yes. I didn't have those images in my head when my bird was out. And I'm really glad I didn't. I probably would have been much more of a wreck than I was already. Where I live, we have a lot of hawks and we have a lot of owls around my house. I got very, very lucky. But it's a reality in a lot of parts of where birds are lost. So we highly, highly, highly recommend, once it starts to get dark, stop. If you know where your bird is located, just stay there. Don't make any sound. Let them settle down. Hopefully they'll move close to the trunk of the tree or, wherever they are. It's a little more stable there. The wind isn't so strong if it's windy. They have a little more safety if they're huddled up next to the trunk of the tree. Sometimes that's not the case. They're out on the edge of a branch. You can't do anything about that. I mean, you could try to coax them to the trunk, but once it starts getting dark, you have to just stop and go inside and start doing all your online stuff. If you don't have flyers yet, make a flyer, fill out our flyer form. We'll make a flyer for you. Get them printed. I printed up all my flyers at midnight at a FedEx. Do all of your online posting, all of the busy work that you have to get done. You do that at night. And all during daylight hours, you're outside, you're searching for that bird. Once you found that bird, you're staying with that bird, you're staying in eyesight. Get somebody else, call in sick, call into work, you have a family emergency, get people to babysit your kids, do whatever you have to do. You have to keep eyes on that bird. If you leave that bird, you run the risk of that bird flying off, and then you've got to start all over and try to locate that bird.
Yeah. Well, Carol, this was an hour and a half of fabulous information for the avian community. Well, I was willing to let this go as long as it needs to because unfortunately, don't wait until that time comes to watch this live stream. A lot of you that are here now you're prepared. Now you know what to do in case of an accident. And if anything were to happen, please share the information, direct people to 911ParrotAlert.com. What I do, I know who you guys are now, so now I just start tagging you.
Yeah, and join our Facebook group. I mean, we have such good information in that Facebook group. We've got these files you can download, and then you have them, and you can. If somebody else is in distress, you have the information. I mean, we cannot be at all places at all times. We really depend on members of the group to help educate others and to help others and direct them to the group.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
And nextdoor.com is another thing that we recommend, posting on nextdoor.com. Join posting to that neighborhood group. And some places, there are not a lot of neighbors. It doesn't make it viable if not enough people are on it in the neighborhood. But where it is viable, it's very, very helpful.
Well, especially if people get to know you, because you told me to go there and I went in there and just started posting and get to know these people. You get found something, boom, tag me. What I'll do, I'll tag you. I'll find you.
Yeah.
Carol, Nikki, Georgette, anybody on here from 911 DG, anybody from 911 Parrot Alert, If there's anything I personally can do to help in any way, let me know. I am very happy to.
Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
Thank you for this opportunity. It's been, I hope some birds are saved from this. And if they still, if they still get out, at least somebody is more educated if they've seen or are aware of some of these things that we advocate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for all that you do. You're putting a lot of effort into a very good area, especially educating everybody.
Yeah, we try very hard. It takes a lot of people to make things
That's
successful.
obvious. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap up and end up with a couple of things that's upcoming. Carol, I just want to say thank you one more time, and everybody at 911 Parrot Alert.
Thank you very much.
So don't forget, everybody, we have our upcoming 2-day all species animal training and workshop using methods in positive reinforcement and applied behavior analysis. That's with myself and Dr. Deb Jones. That's the second weekend in October, and it is filling up fast, and rightfully so. We will be talking about rock solid recalls. For those of you that follow the work that we do, you can find our live streaming services, whether that be our memberships, understanding the use of applied behavior analysis with all animals, no matter what the animal, no matter what the species, or we also have our individual species-specific live stream services for the Parrot Project and the Pig Project. And a huge thank you, Carol, and everybody at 911 Parrot Alert. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Carol.
Laura, thank you.
Really good seeing you again.
You too.
All right. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.